Hello, welcome back to our Infrastructure Continuous Compliance mini-series, episode 2. In this episode, we're going to pick up the reference architecture and apply it using a simple example. This episode is going to get a little bit technical, so bear with me. Here's our reference architecture. There are 4 types of controls: directive, preventative, detective, and responsive. The core of the directive control is building the control library to control mapping exercise. Moving on to the preventative controls, you will have both infrastructure as code constraints on your continuous integration system, as well as the organization policies and IAM permissions as defined closer to your Google Cloud APIs. Then you will have the security command center to orchestrate the detective control and the responsive controls. The cloud function is your friend to develop responsive controls from automatic remediation to sending Slack messages. Here's the overview of our example. For the directive controls, we will use one control from the CIS Google Cloud Foundations and apply a simplified control mapping exercise. For the preventative controls, we will use some Terraform code to deploy an infrastructure, and we will use an open source project called Keep Infrastructure Code Secure, KICS, from Checkmarx to run our security scan to look for any bad implementation from our Terraform code. For the detective controls and responsive controls, we will use the Security Command Center Security Health Analytics feature, and we will use the PubSub and Cloud Function combination to run the event-driven workflow as our responses. First one up, the directive controls. Here's our control mapping, a very simplified one. We've chosen one control requirement from CIS, Google Cloud Foundations 3.6. It is essentially asking for not having any unrestricted SSH access from the internet. To realize this requirement, we are going to implement controls at 3 places. First place, we're going to implement the organization policy to prevent any GCE virtual machines from having external IP addresses so they can't be accessed from the internet, right? Second place, we're going to use KICS from Checkmarx to run a security scan against our Terraform code, looking for if we are trying to implement any Terraform code to build a firewall that's insecure. Third place, we're going to leverage Security Command Center to continuously looking for if we have any open SSH firewall rule existed in our GCP environment. To implement the preventative controls, we will have some simple Terraform code trying to implement a firewall rule. And this Terraform code is going to be stored in the source repository, which is a managed Git in Google Cloud. And we're going to have a cloud-built continuous integration that's being triggered by the code push to the main branch of our code repository. The cloud build is going to orchestrate the security scan using Checkmarx KICS, and is going to store all the results in the cloud storage. If my code fails this scan, cloud build is going to stop, and I can find out where my code went wrong, which part was insecure, and what I could do to fix it. If my code passes this scan, the cloud build is going to send a message to PubSub, which will then trigger the second cloud build. And the second cloud build will go ahead and run Terraform init and Terraform apply to build our infrastructure in the Google Cloud. And of course, closest to our Google Cloud APIs, we will still have our organization policies as a final defense. At last, Security Command Center is going to continuously scan and respond to any configuration changes in our environment. It's going to look for if we have any firewall rule allowing unrestricted SSH access. If it finds anything, it's going to do 2 things. It's going to trigger 2 different cloud functions. The cloud function number 1 is going to send a message to the Slack channel. It is like alerting your operations teams. Again, Slack is just one of the options here, you can send a message to different instant messaging tools via email, or you can automatically log a ticket with your ITSM system. The second cloud function is going to go back to our GCP environment and delete the insecure firewall that allows the unrestricted SSH access. So that was our example today. In the episode 3, we're going to watch this example working in action in GCP. If you're interested in trying out the demo yourself ahead of the episode 3, feel free to check out the code and the guidance on the GitHub using the link below or scan the QR code. Stay tuned for our episode 3, our last episode. Until then, take care and goodbye.